and welcome to Retro Encounter episode 178. Today, it's me, Robert Fenner, and joining me are Alana Hagues.
Hello.
And Michael Sollosi.
Hello.
Hello, you two. Thank you for joining me. Mike, it seems like when you and I get together, we end up doing the occasional episode about a obscure, defunct Japanese developer. And
we do!
This year we're doing Wolf Team.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about Wolf Team's oeuvre in general, other than that they made Tales of Phantasia, one of my favorite Super Famicom RPGs, and then they had an unusually influential group of people working there that went on to make a lot of interesting games. So I think Wolf Team is, even though I'm not an expert on them, they're interesting as a developer that made a lot of cool games in the 90s, and then maybe even more interesting as to sort of what they became after they broke up.
The moment in Wolf Team's history that most people are going to be familiar with, and that I think is kind of the pivotal moment, is the split that happened at the end of the 90s that turned the companies. It split into two companies, which were Namco Tales Studio and Tri-Ace. And Alana, I believe you're very familiar with these two developers.
Yeah, I definitely know everything from and after the split. So I've kind of followed both development teams keenly and seen where both have gone right and wrong and which one's gone more wrong than the other one. And I think it's a strange kind of story because I'm not really familiar too much with their older properties, but digging into it a little bit before we recorded has been really fascinating, actually, and it's been really, really insightful.
They didn't have a lot released in the West. Wolf Team began in 1986 as a Telenet subsidiary, so those were the days, the heady days of the Japanese microcomputer, the MSX and the PC-88 and the PC-98.
And you have a lot of affection for old Telenet and old Japanese PC gaming, if I know you, Rob.
Do I? I absolutely do. So for a long time, Wolf Team had no presence in the United States. But when they started out as a Telenet subsidiary. They made the PC-98 versions of Valis 1 and 2. I don't know how many people listening will be familiar with Valis, but Valis is what Sega Trash Kids had instead of Castlevania. It was a sort of racy magical girl, Castlevania-like, old school platforming Castlevania rather than Metroidvania. It was all about Yuko, the magical schoolgirl, and her claim over the Valis sword had nothing to do with the Philip K. Dick novel of the same name. But they famously did the racier microcomputer versions of those games.
Sounds almost like a more saucy version of Psycho Soldier or something.
That's SNK,
with Athena from SNK,
the little girl with powers inside.
Yeah, the magical girl in a sailor outfit with psychic powers who eventually becomes the magical girl of King of Fighters.
Yeah, exactly. This was kind of before Magical Girl. I don't want this to be all about Valis, but this is kind of before the Magical Girl boom. It was a few years before.
We'll have to have a Valis spin-off episode in May or June. We can manage it.
Oh my god. I don't think it fits our criteria to be, as much as I would love that. There's no RPG elements in Valis.
Bummer.
So that was pre-Magical Girl boom, and then Telenet broke away, Wolf Team broke away from Telenet in 87 to make a go of it on their own. And during this time, they, I think their star property, they did a bunch of shooters, but their star property was this trilogy of RPGs called the Arcus series, and they had Narumi Kakanuchi on board to do character designs for that series, and she was the manga artist who created Vampire Princess Miyu. So they had some star power manga artists behind them at the time. And Arcus was very much their take on wizardry. The first and the third game were dungeon crawls, and the second game was more of a traditional RPG. And if anybody's familiar with Wolf Team's 90s work, the Sega Genesis game Arcus Odyssey it's a retelling of Arcus 1, but in like a gauntlet style of game.
I kind of love the art for this. I'm not very familiar with Arcus, but I'm looking at screenshots, and it's that late '80s, early '90s anime aesthetic. Looks like a the overworld looks like it has a little bit more detailed sprites than your Dragon Quest IVs of the world, which would have been around the same time.
Yeah, they would have been contemporary. I think this was around the time that Motoi Sakuraba was brought on as on freelance retainer to start doing music for Wolf Team. I think Arcus 2 is the earliest soundtrack of his, but I could be mistaken. So by 1990, Low Profit saw Wolf Team folded back into Telenet, but the Telenet had recently opened an American branch, Renovation, which allowed Wolf Team's TurboGrafx and Genesis games to get some English releases. Bad translations aside, it opened the door to a new audience for Wolf Team's games. So it was around this time that they mostly released shooters in the West. They released the Annette games, which includes the very infamous Ernest Evans. I don't know if either of you have seen that.
No, what is Ernest Evans?
Ernest Evans was a Castlevania-esque side scroller with a protagonist who was a segmented sprite. So his arms and his legs and his torso would all move. They were all jointed like a little bit like an action figure, and it looked really ridiculous in motion.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. The key staff at Wolf Team around this time were the studio was founded by Masahiro Akashino. Other important people, we mentioned Motoi Sakuraba earlier as being a freelance musician, but the big names here were Yoshiharu Gotanda, who was sort of Wolf Team's star programmer as well as scenario writer, Joe Asanuma, who directed all of their games, Masaki Norimoto, who was a gameplay designer, and Eiji Kikuchi, who was a producer. Was a producer at the time. Eventually ended up in the director's chair. And then there were some other people who aren't that well known, but have made some important contributions in their own right. It's the programmer Bugtaro, which is the pseudonym of Yukihiko Tani. He's best known for splitting off and forming Gao, who did Crusader of Senti and Linkle Liver Story, the follow-up to that. And I'm sure they did something else, because they eventually became Nex Entertainment, and they did... they did a lot of contract work on Code Veronica, as well as the behind-the-scenes work on Crimson Shroud a few years ago.
So they're still around.
They are indeed still around. I don't know what they're doing at the moment, but they are... apparently they closed in 2016. Never mind.
Oh, bummer.
Okay, and there was also Hiroya Hatsushiba. He was a sound programmer who worked very closely with Motoi Sakuraba to convert his compositions into different sequencing engines of different computers and consoles.
So is he why the Sakuraba compositions for like Phantasia through Valkyrie Profile all sort of feel like the same sound library?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah.
Okay. It's a distinct sound, but I have a lot of affection for it.
It is,
especially the Phantasia soundtrack. But yeah, like that was early Sakuraba. I don't know, feels more likable than later Sakuraba, because he cranks out soundtracks. It feels like 2 a year sometimes. His bibliography is so enormous.
I would agree, although I've got some affection for some later Sakuraba soundtracks, but I know for a fact a lot of his work is with the Tales Studio or with later Tales games, and he works to pretty tight deadlines, so it kind of hampers his creativity. But outside of a few like late 2000s soundtracks, I don't have too much affection for his later stuff. His early stuff, however, like the Phantasias, the Destiny, the Eternia, the Valkyrie Profile, the Star Ocean 2, all really, really good, and it was really promising. So to see it kind of drop off is, you know, he's got some bright spots, but there's definitely some outside influence and some time pressure that affects it, I think.
I know he did Baten Kaitos, and we talked about that game a little bit on the GameCube episode. But you and Steph mentioned really liking the music in that one, right?
Yeah, I adore that. I think that's my favorite soundtrack of his, the original and the sequel.
Nice use of violins in that first game.
Yeah, really, really good. I also really like some of Eternal Sonata's soundtrack, which is another development off of another break on Tri-Ace and Wolf Team and everything.
That's right. Hiroya Hatsushiba went on to found Tri-Crescendo originally as a studio to contract sound design for Tri-Ace before starting to develop their own games like Eternal Sonata and eventually Baten Kaitos with Monolith and Fragile Dreams.
Oh, yeah.
If we ever wanted to do an Eternal Sonata episode, I think I could just give the mic to Marcos and then come back in 90 minutes, and he would still be in the early goings.
He does love that game.
Is he a big fan?
Oh yeah. He loves the music of it, of course, because he's Marcos, and also the game in general. He probably could tell you a bit about the Chopin compositions that inspired the game.
I loved the idea of Chopin RPG, but in the end, that game didn't really do it for me.
I love the idea of taking a famous artist or a musician from history and making that into an RPG, even a weird dreamlike RPG. So, but it's I sort of wish Eternal Sonata was better than it was. It didn't do it for me exactly, but in like on paper, it's amazing, and I wouldn't mind it on a game in the 2010s kind of like it.
Yeah, I've got some affection for that game. I do like how it plays, but it is so needlessly convoluted and with so many 20 to 30 minute cutscenes in it that break up everything. And it just takes so much absorbing to understand, Chopin is in his bed dying of tuberculosis, but he's having this anime fever dream. And I'm like, I can't take this seriously. Why are you giving me 30 minute cutscenes on death? And yeah, it's special. I do adore it. But yeah, maybe not for the right reasons. It's fun.
It's extremely complicated, and I think there's a little bit of Wolf Team influence there. I kind of feel like Wolf Team's MO, especially in the 90s, was like trying different ambitious ideas. They had their fingers in every pie. They made RPGs, action games, shooters, adventure games. And I feel like they tried something different with every game that they made, and it wasn't always successful, but you couldn't really fault them for trying.
No way, no.
And there's absolutely, I feel like that's really present in pretty much all of Tri-Ace's games. And I mean, those early Tales games before, I don't know, I think, before we became sort of inundated when they became annual, there was nothing else really like that. And I mean, as slow as Tales of Phantasia and Destiny could be, it was absolutely something new being tried. So I think that's what's special about them. But in 1991, Akishino left Wolf Team dissatisfied. He kind of felt that it was a failing. He was the lead of Wolf Team when they were in Telenet. They tried to make a go of it alone, had to be folded back in. He was extremely demoralized and depressed. So he left Wolf Team and he formed J-Force. And J-Force are probably best known for doing Dragon Force on Sega Saturn.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I am pretty Sega agnostic. Unfortunately, I did not own any Sega system until I bought a Dreamcast used for extremely cheap, and it was mostly a Skies of Arcadia and Soul Calibur machine.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
But my favorite weird old Sega thing to YouTube is Dragon Force. That game looks so cool.
Yeah, it does.
I would love. Does it have a modern re-release of any kind? Because that is something that I would totally spend too much money on and revisit as a curiosity.
There was a Japanese PlayStation 2 release. It was one of the Sega ages.
Yeah.
Oh, and I lied. I did play a lot of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike on the Dreamcast as well. But yeah, back to Dragon Force. That is a cool, weird sort of strategy RPG with sort of action RPG battles once you engage.
They're not action RPG. They're more like just watching a cinema. It's a little bit
so,
like...
so you don't really control the characters as they sort of run around each other and slashing at each other?
No, you're just watching.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks cool. I
it
can
does.
imagine it might not hold up, but the spectacle of it is what makes it special. And it's weirdly like it's like a Japanese 4X. You're doing like all this diplomacy and governing your kingdom in between conquests.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that did not escape me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a lot of anime talking portraits, talking at each other. A lot of sort of, it felt like a sort of big drama kind of 90s anime look, and it had this weird gameplay that sort of seemed to combine strategy and planning with some action. I don't think I even realized you didn't control your characters because I've only seen videos.
Yeah, I don't think there's any action at all. Thinking back on it,
no, but it's such a weird, cool thing that maybe more than any other game has made me Saturn curious. Other than, I don't know, maybe the original versions of Grandia and the enhanced version of Symphony of the Night, but. Yeah, God, Dragon Force is so cool. And when I learned from our discussions previous that this was another game that has a lineage with Wolf Team, that just made me even more interested in it.
So J-Force, Akashino was very quick to take on a lot of contracts at a lot of different publishers. They made a handful of RPGs for NX. And there's Gran Historia. Who produced Gran Historia? I'm just going to have a quick Google here. That was Bam Presto. So he was sort of splitting his time between Bam Presto, Sega, and NX. And this eagerness to establish J-Force as a producer of like high quality games, RPGs in particular, ended up accruing a lot of debt. So not unlike the incident that happened with Image Epoch back in 2015, halfway through the development of Dragon Force around 1994 or 1995, Akashino disappeared without a trace.
Oh wow!
And
really?
Yeah. Nobody knew where he went, and shortly after that, the company it was realized that they were completely out of money, and they had to shut down in a hurry. And I think like the last odds and ends of Dragon Force were done internally at Sega.
Yeah, that does sound right. But yeah, looking at the timeline of their releases between, like they only released games between 1994 and 1996, and there's like 9 of those things, and that's like not healthy for anybody. I would think
it is a lot, and they're all very ambitious as well. There's like Gran Historia is like, it's kind of like a Chrono Trigger-esque RPG about going back in time, and I think there's like first-person dungeons.
Okay.
Burning Heroes has something like 8 protagonists. They were extremely ambitious games.
Octopath Traveler circa 1995.
Yeah, not quite as good. A lot more plot, but still not quite as good. But Wolf Team, they weren't doing a whole lot in the West in the 90s. One of the most notable games, in my opinion, is Neugier, which was developed in 1994 in conjunction with Yukihiro Takahashi of Yellow Magic Orchestra. And this was a Zelda-esque top-down action RPG that made use of like a grappling hook mechanic. And this was intended for U.S. release as the Journey Home: Quest for the Throne. Like it got to the point of being reviewed in GameFan, and there was box art, and you could pre-order it, but it was quietly and very quickly canceled when. Sega, in an attempt to hang on to every Telenet game, bought Renovation, the studio's U.S. wing. But the joke was kind of on Sega because Renovation didn't really make anything after being bought.
Yeah, this looks neat. It looks kind of like Soul Blazer.
Yeah, it's a peculiar game. And like it's this, the soundtrack, despite being by a popular musician, it's like it's got a few good tracks, but it's really really short. He did something like 6 or 7 2-minute pieces for it. One of which I made a special note of it. The title screen music, I think it's a ripoff of the Dead Can Dance song "In Power We Trust, the Love Advocated," because it sounds exactly like it.
Oh my god.
But this is all leading up to 1995, which is sort of the pivotal moment in Wolf Team's history, and when they would see when the schism would see wider success for their alumnus worldwide. So by 1995, Telenet were kind of on the way out. They were one of the developers who really just couldn't make the transition into the 32-bit era. So while the 16-bit era was ending, Yoshihara Gotanda, star programmer, he'd written a script called Tales of Phantasia, which was, I think it might have been based on one of the tabletop campaigns that he did with his friends. I know that was fairly common of properties that became RPGs or anime series. So Tales of Phantasia was intended to be this really, really ambitious 3-sided epic that spanned hundreds of years. It was in 3 acts with 3 different protagonists. Gotanda was the writer. He was going to program it, and Joe Asanuma was set to direct. But Telenet could not fund this. They absolutely they had nothing. So they were looking for outside investors who might be able to, stump up the cash for Wolf Team to make their big magnum opus. They ended up partnering with Namco. But Namco, they had some changes before they would approve it. First and foremost, the script was far too long. If you know much about Tales of Phantasia, it was a game that is already pushing the limits of a Super Famicom cartridge.
I think that I don't remember where I read this, but at the very beginning of Tales of Phantasia, you see a sort of different group of characters that is not the main heroes, sealing away Daus, the game's main villain.
Correct.
And this is the first 5 minutes of the game. And I think that was supposed to be the final boss of one of the other parts of the game.
That's right. That's the final encounter of the first third.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'd heard as well. Yeah. No, it was meant to be about 3 times as long as it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The whole 3 era thing was meant to be stretched out much bigger. Like, you don't spend a lot of time in the present in Tales of Phantasia, and I think that was meant to be an entire adventure in itself. So, yeah.
Yeah, Tales of Phantasia basically has the present, which is almost an introductory arc that's just a few hours, and then very long, and then sort of 2 very long second and third acts that are the bulk of the game. And I think they had to sort of adapt 2 of the 3 arcs planned for Tales of Phantasia into those 2 arcs, and then they sort of truncated the first arc into this one cutscene, or maybe the entirety of Tales of Phantasia is just Act 2 or Act 3 of Tales of Phantasia. But every single source you check says that the original script was way too ambitious to be finished.
So what the game ended up being was the third arc, which follows Cress going back in time to defeat Daus. But the second arc focuses on the character Rhea. And that was condensed into a single quest. Is she one of the elves? She lives in Hamel, and Hamel has been destroyed by this evil scientist wizard called Demetel, who lives in a mansion on an island.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's Arche's friend.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so so that's just one quest in one town in the first third of Phantasia.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be an entire adventure in itself, starring her. But
Demetel's the first semi-challenging boss in the game. It's a big
there for a while.
It's an important part of Tales of Phantasia, but it's I didn't realize that Rhea was that important to the big script. She's a one town NPC.
Oh yeah. she's really, really condensed. And I mean, even the Kless story was very condensed. And looking at what people have said who are familiar with Tale of Phantasia and have checked out and have played through Tales of Phantasia, people have noticed there's a lot of dialogue that suggests that the player is familiar with events that don't necessarily happen within the final game. So very much sort of a truncated, incomplete work.
I sort of would love to look at parts of that script, because I really have a lot of affection for Tales of Phantasia. I've beaten that game 4 times, and I don't know, any of the drama or stuff surrounding it is very, very interesting to me.
It's fascinating, especially the original character names. Like, I think Chester was called Bowman the Bow Wielder, or something really on the nose and awful like that.
God! There's a Bowman in Star Ocean 2. Yeah, but he fights with his fist.
He's not he doesn't fight with a bow.
Yeah, no, he's a pharmacist that fights with fists, ironically. But
he's Jude.
He is Jude.
God, fist pharmacist sounds like a much more martial arts flavored version of the Frontier Pharmacist Sierra game. You know what I mean?
Freddy Farkas.
Yeah, Freddy Farkas, Frontier Pharmacist. That's it. It's just a triumph of alliteration, that game. But
I love that game.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't hold up at all, but
I love the humor and the sort of look of the old LucasArts and Sierra adventure games, which many people do. But it's kind of hard to go back to many of those. But anyway, the Phantasia characters, it's. Like, and Chester's also a weird one, because he's with you from the very beginning, and then you get to maybe level, I don't know, 5, right? And but then he is not with your group when they jump back in time, and when you come back up to meet Chester again, Kless and friends are level 45, and he's still level 5.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, which is a little weird. In the later in the versions of the game after the Super Famicom version, if you stay at an inn enough times, he'll do training montages in the middle of the night where RJ
that's fantastic.
Where RJ taunts him and he gains a bunch of levels. But no, it's very cute. But
that makes sense though. Are you just coming back to the present? So I mean, like technically you've been away for like 5 minutes, so he's just been hanging out.
yeah, he's been gone 5 minutes with Douse about to kill him.
You've been in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah, and then you teleport back in, defeat the present version of Douse, and then Chester rejoins you for the second arc or the last arc of the game. But it was I remember it being a weird thing, but yeah, man, Tales of Phantasia is good. I sort of wish that Chester had gone the Breath of Fire 2 Star Ocean 2 route when gone by the name Bo Bowman. I would have enjoyed that.
So Joe Asanuma was set to direct, as he was the director of every Wolf Team game. But Namco, they put Eiji Kikuchi in this position on very, very short notice. And this combined with the truncation of the script and also the reworking of the title to Tales of Phantasia, with a view to make Tales of a series if this title was successful. Gotanda and Asanuma were very, very unhappy with what was happening here, and they just they served their time on the game, but they just didn't want to be involved anymore. So with that, after Tales of Phantasia came out, Gotanda, Asanuma, Norimoto, and Hatsushiba left to form Tri-Ace, which left Wolf Team just Wolf Team in name only, because like the rest of the big names at Wolf Team had all left either in like 1991 or 1992, and then this was the last of them. So there really wasn't...
It was really... It looks like it was just Kikuchi.
Yeah.
And he directed Tales of Destiny and then was a producer or director on a handful of other Tales games. I think he's still with Namco. But basically, it was like there's no other Wolf Team people in what we think of modern Tales.
No, there isn't. No, he's a shareholder, I think, now at the very most. But yeah, he was director until... I think he was director until Baba, at least. Maybe he got cut out.
I don't think he did every game, but he was a producer or a director on a bunch of them. And
I think it was up until they formed Namco Tales Studio, correct?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the at the staff roll for each game one by one. I don't know if I want to do that, but Kikuchi was involved through the 2000s at least.
He was. In my opinion, I think he did a very good job. I've got affection for him, even if he ousted the original director. So Gotanda, Asanuma, and Norimoto, they had this reputation of being the three aces of Wolf Team, who were the sort of brains and know-how behind the more unique ideas. So the three aces became Tri-Ace, along with Hatsushiba, unfortunately left out of the title. And in 1996, they released their first game, Star Ocean, which...
The Super Famicom Star Ocean is rough.
Yeah, it is.
It's rough, and it also... You can see so much in common with Tales of Phantasia.
Oh,
it
yeah.
is so similar.
I know that I have a reputation for comparing two things that aren't necessarily related. Thinking back to comparing Seventh Saga to Final Fantasy 1.
Are we going to get a metaphenophore here?
Star Ocean feels like... It feels like, okay, look, we're going to do Tale Phantasia, but we're going to make it in space, and we're going to change just enough, but we're going to put Asanuma back in the director's chair, and we're going to do this our way.
The two games feel similar, and like the sprites and the art look similar, but I think you can tell that they wanted to make a game like Tales of Phantasia, but then make enough meaningful changes that it was his own thing. There's a much more involved skill system in Star Ocean 1. It has fights on a
Is there?
It has fights on an isometric 3D plane instead of a 2D plane, and there's a mechanic that I consider central to Star Ocean where you can't recruit the full team. You make sort of story decisions and recruiting decisions that gives you a final party of 8 out of a total number of playable characters of 12. So it especially with how the game looks and the world map and the Sakuraba soundtrack, it does feel like Tales of Phantasia sometimes, but it's a number of its gameplay gimmicks, I think, make it very different from Tales of Phantasia.
Absolutely.
But like we said, it's rough, man. They had not figured out that 2D plane combat yet, I should say the isometric plane combat yet. It's way improved in Star Ocean 2.
Well, I was just giving the Super Famicom version another go before recording, and I had forgotten that like it's pretty much like button mashing but menu based.
Yeah, there's like a targeting system where you choose what enemy to focus on.
Yeah,
but especially for the non-mage characters, really you just want to go to the nearest one and attack them until they're dead, and then until you automatically target another one. I tried playing it several years ago, over a decade ago, with a translation that I think was pretty complete, but I ended up giving up and just playing the PSP version shortly after. And the PSP remake, which takes a lot of cues from the design of Star Ocean 2, is actually, I think, very good. It's it's in that engine. Star Ocean 1 feels cute when you play the PSP version. It's a game of its time that was maybe a little bit too ambitious on the Super Famicom, and in a more playable version, that PSP version, I think it's worth playing. But man, the Super Famicom version is rough, and the earliest Tri-Ace is not the Tri-Ace you want.
How about those compressed voice clips, though? Like that intro
Both
is
games,
completely voiced on Super Famicom, and it sounds awful, but
it's pretty impressive. Yeah.
It sounds worse than the pop song at the beginning of Tales of Phantasia, but it's ambitious.
It does. I mean, it's very much like kind of a testament to the programming know-how of Wolf Team and then later Tri-Ace. Like I like that PSP remake quite a bit. I think it actually makes that game playable. But like, there's some things that I really really like about Star Ocean on Super Famicom. I like how it doesn't have a world map, but these sort of like discrete discrete scenes of like going through jungles or other parts of the geography that make up this world, and you'll get these nice little touches like an overlay of birds flying overhead. And there was really it was really colorful, and there wasn't really anything else that looked like it. I mean, aside from Tales of Phantasia on the Super Famicom, so it had a very striking look, as stodgy as it could be.
The sprites look great, and the menus look good, and again that it has some ambitious sides to it that are exceeding what Phantasia accomplished. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I still can't get over how the combat is such a mess.
I was surprised at how hard it was to go back to. But it is what it is. It was up until 2003 that Wolf Team continued to make games for Namco Tales, or for Namco. They were just Namco at the time, with permission from Telenet. And Telenet couldn't fund anything anymore. They were really, at this point, kind of flailing. I think they put out one or two PlayStation games, but they were putting out pachinko machines around the end of the 90s, just in a final hope to regain some revenue. But it was in 2003, shortly after the final Wolf Team game ever, which was Tales of Destiny 2, the Japan exclusive PS2 sequel to Tales of Destiny, that Namco threw a little bit of money around and acquired majority shares of Wolf Team with 60%, which gave them the power to rename the company to Namco Tales Studio. And shortly after that, they released their first game under that banner, which was the beloved Tales of Symphonia.
Wow, that kind of explains why we got Symphonia first, because I don't actually think Europe got a single Wolf Team game. It might have got one, because we didn't get... well, Star Ocean 2 was the only thing we got, but that was Trace by that point.
Yeah.
You didn't get Eternia on the PS1?
No, we didn't. We didn't get it until the PSP.
Until the PSP, okay, right.
Yeah, and we didn't get Phantasia until the GBA, so...
Nobody did.
Yeah, same thing for North America there. But North America did get Destiny and Eternia. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean Destiny 2 North America. We don't need to have that conversation again.
No, we don't.
I wouldn't be surprised if the UK got some of like the Laserdisc adaptations that Wolf Team did for the Sega CD.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing I could see them getting. But I'm looking at it now, and it looks like, gosh, even like the Genesis pinball games might not have made it. But,
we certainly didn't get Arcus Odyssey. They were going to publish it under a different publisher was going to take it.
Oh, really?
But it never made it. Yeah, we never got it. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I had no
Team
idea there was a plan for it. But I guess Renovation were US exclusive, I suppose. Where am I now? Okay, so so Tales of Symphonia was the first game to be released as Namco Tales Studio. Although Telenet still had the second biggest share at something like 30% or 35%, and the remaining 6% of Namco Tales Studio belonged to Kikuchi himself. But I think everybody here is pretty familiar with Symphonia.
Yeah, very familiar. First Tales game. Yeah.
It was not my first Tales game. It was probably, I guess, the fourth one I tried, but it was the first one I played through with multiplayer, and that was among our RPG circles. That was immensely popular when it came out.
That was a hell of a summer. I played Secret of Mana for the first time ever multiplayer, and then I played Symphonia for the first time ever, having friends over and playing it. So it was really cool.
It had been out for several months or a year, but I played it when I was a freshman in college with three of the guys in my freshman dorm. And,
cool!
And it was the perfect setting for that kind of game, like the perfect situation to be playing that kind of multiplayer RPG. It was awesome. And again, I was a little chagrined to have my claimed mains be Colette and Regal, but it was and I eventually played it solo later because we never finished our college playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot of fun, and Symphonia is very close to a lot of people.
Yeah, it opened a lot of doors for me because I then was like, oh my God, what's this? There's an entire series behind this. And this was how I discovered Wolf Team and Star Ocean as a kind of aside. Because Tales of Symphonia is a prequel to Tales of Phantasia,
That's
correct?
right,
it's
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so it's
like
like a little
it's over.
tribute.
Yeah, it's like over 4,000 years before Tales of Phantasia, and the tree Yggdrasil in which comes from Norse myth, of course, from Tales of Phantasia, even gets its own character is named after a character in Symphonia, and there's many
Yggdrasil.
smaller connections like that, including all of the summons and
Well,
and Darius Karlon.
that's right.
Which is
Oh yeah.
the evil sort of the civilization of angels in Symphonia. You can Daus is sort of like the last ditch hero of that people.
Yeah, he's trying to
Yeah.
save Darius Karlon like
Yes.
Mithra was in Symphonia.
Yeah, but in Symphonia, Darius Karlon is sort of a sort of like a hegemonic power that's ruling over the two worlds of that game.
Right, yeah. It's endearing. I like that little reference, even if it might just be homogenized in or something. But yeah, I do.
It's
That
kind
was
of-
how I found out.
It's kind of like it's if you think about it, I don't know if this was intended, but it seems kind of like a sweet nod back to
Yeah.
their origins, because it's like, okay, we're not Wolf Team anymore, but we're going to we're gonna do this sort of like this pseudo prequel to the very first Wolf Team Tales game.
That's
Yeah.
how I take it.
Yeah, they did a two worlds thing like Eternia and a lot of references to Phantasia. I think Symphonia was meant to be sort of a culmination of previous Tales games, and they probably did deliberately connect it back to Wolf Team.
It
Yeah, I
was
believe
it
that.
was a big celebration when Symphonia came out, and I know like Abyss was a big celebration as well, but it seemed like
Symphonia was way more ambitious than any of the previous games in the series by
it
far.
absolutely was. They were trying out that 3D engine for the very first time.
Just look at the fights in any of the four previous Tales games, and then Symphonia, and you're like, okay, this is a whole new thing.
Yeah.
So, it was in 2007 that Namco managed to gain almost all shares in Namco Tales Studio because Telenet made some very sad decisions as a last ditch attempt to secure some funding. They very famously licensed out the Valis property to a company called Eance. And Eance made a series of visual novels called Valis X, which are pretty infamous for what Eance decided to do to the female cast of Valis.
I'm worried where this is going.
Yeah, Valis was always like a little bit racy in that way that late '80s, early '90s anime was.
But it would be like the raciness of Alice was probably more in like the manual and the cover than the actual content
like
of the game.
there's like an opening cutscene on the PC Engine version that has a panty shot, that kind of
Sure, all right,
that kind
okay.
of thing. But
I don't love that, but I guess I'll accept it.
like regardless, although that it was meant to be like a little bit sexy, Valis was still a series that focused on warrior women conquering all odds. So to see them be starring in some really degrading eroge, and like I'm not saying that all eroge is degrading, but the particular subject matter of the Valis X games was incredibly degrading and very sad to see. You may not think this has a lot to do with Wolf Team. They also licensed out Arcus. So there was also Arcus X by the same developer that put the heroines of the Arcus series in similar regrettable situations.
Oh wow.
So that was like the last gasp of some of the more popular Telenet and Wolf Team properties getting one final disgrace. Which,
yeah. It's like throwing the toys out of the pram almost and just being like, we don't care anymore. Just take them and do what you want with them. Almost. Yeah.
So these were the last games that Telenet produced. Nobody bought them, and the company closed their doors in 2007, declaring bankruptcy and giving full control of Namco Tales Studio to Namco. And Namco Tales Studio, they were sadly disbanded and folded into Bandai Namco proper in 2011. So, I mean, those guys, they're still making games and they're still doing their thing.
I think we might be due for a new Tales of game announcement later this year too.
For sure.
Because they hinted at it at times in 2018, and it's been over 2 years since Berseria. So
I think 3 years in Japan, right?
Yeah,
it was the end of 2016.
Okay.
So like 2.5 for Japan and around 2 for the West. I think that we have a console a console announcement incoming is my bet.
Yeah, we do. Crestoria is not a mothership title, as they were.
Because Rays did not last long at all. It felt like I downloaded Rays, and about 6 months later, they discontinued it. So.
Yeah, it was really popular as well. I thought I heard some good things about it. And there was Tales of Link as well, wasn't there? Which was a bit more standard mobile-y, but
maybe
yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to move on to a new mobile game, because Crestoria looks pretty ambitious.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it looks surprising, really. I mean, I might check it out. I thought that Rays was okay, actually. I had a bit of a go with that when I got my new phone a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, you know what, this might work. I don't know, but I didn't put a whole lot of time into it. You can, despite the studio being, quote unquote, no longer in existence, at least in name, you can really see this sort of Wolf Team influence of each Tales game. Although there are similarities, each game tries to do something differently. And the choice of Tales of Berseria, the most recent console game, to map every single face button to an attack move. I think that's really mixed up the Tales formula and disrupted that in a really interesting way. And I think that's worked out for them as well. I think that's been a very popular game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's pretty amongst fans. There's a kind of a split. Like after Tales Studio got folded into Namco, there's always been some people who prefer others. But yeah, I think for me personally, Berseria's idea, I was really worried about them mapping them to all 4 buttons, and it took a while. It felt very beat 'em up like, which kind of suited me down to a T. But it was just really fun, and you could really go places with those combos, and it was a really nice evolution. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do next with it.
Yeah, I think that it was a very good idea to move away from the TP systems that Tales has done for the past 10 years or so, and Berseria is a very interesting version of that, where, I'm not technical enough to know whether I'm in the 3rd hit of a combo or 4th hit of a combo to customize the buttons that much, so I would basically for each character, I would make an X combo, square combo, triangle combo, and circle combo, and
nice
design it that way.
I mean, unless you're playing on Nightmare difficulty, you it's kind of you can tailor it to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like Alana, I'm very interested to see what their next combat idea is, because we said so in the favorite Tales of episode a few weeks ago that Grace's F might have the best gameplay in the whole series. And that was just one exploration of a non-TP based system. So yeah,
two people after my own heart. I absolutely agree with that statement.
Yeah.
I haven't played a lot of Grace's F, but I know that Alana and Steph both expressed that sentiment. I'm very interested to see what they go with forward.
Oh, Grace's F is one of the few games where I have completely despised the story and yet played all the way through and enjoyed every minute of it. So,
yeah.
But aside from Namco, there's also Tri-Ace, and Tri-Ace. God love them. They try.
I know, don't they? Just I feel really bad for them every time. I guess we could start from the beginning and go to Star Ocean 2, because that's really the peak of them, isn't it? That's where they really got big and popular, and I think almost universally the Star Ocean 2 Valkyrie profile era is their most popular and most beloved, and rightly so.
I think so. I mean, I think this was a time when Tri-Ace, they definitely got horny. I'll say that much. To be blunt, their later games. I'm looking at Star Ocean.
It's right in with 2019 then.
Yeah, I'm looking at Star Ocean 5 in particular. Resonance of Fate has got some issues as well, but they really they kind of became they were really enacting some fantasies in some of their later games. And
I think of Muria from Star Ocean 4, who's the she's the elf-like lady with the she focuses on thunder magic. She has an outfit and she has a look and she pulls it off, and it's for a certain kind of person, but yeah. And then you've got Fiora, the mage. Oh my god, that outfit is awful. She's they definitely lost something towards the end of the 2000s.
And I mean, character designs aside, like I thought Star Ocean 5 was not fun to play, and like I'm also kind of in that camp of Star Ocean 4. But I played so little of that I know that it has its defenders and its fans, so I can't attest to Star Ocean 4 that much, but I can attest to Star Ocean 5 just being like a stodgy nightmare of a game.
And well, I mean, we don't need to turn this into a whole Star Ocean episode, but Star Ocean 2 is a beloved cult classic, and that's probably that's my favorite game in the series. And Star Ocean 3 has really cool combat, and I never got very far in it, but I'm aware of its infamous twist, which is usually an early discussion topic whenever anyone brings up SO3.
Oh yeah, the infamous twist that the sequels are trying to pretend didn't happen, I guess.
I know, right? One of them's a prequel, and the other one's is like straight afterwards, I think, and it just doesn't acknowledge it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not one of Star Ocean 4's defenders. I will say, though, that it's probably got the best action combat ever, maybe.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I really, really, really like it. Grace's F is the only one that comes close, but it just takes everything that Star Ocean 3 did and just polishes it and makes it so fun. The story and the characters are absolute. Like, they're insipid. It's just, I hate the story and the characters of Star Ocean 4.
It's a bit much.
It is ridiculous. Yeah, like the whole blowing up Earth thing, and oh no, it's an alternate version of Earth, and yeah, all the female characters are awful and not treated very well. But yeah, Star Ocean 3 has one annoying thing in that you die from MP. You using up all your MP.
You do. I forgot about that.
Dreadful, because you just use it up so quickly. It's worse than Tales games.
That's also got this. It's got this weird system where, like, I mean, there were trophies around this as well, where like sometimes a viable strategy was to beat a boss by depleting all of its MP, and sometimes like a boss would be like a total sponge in the hit point department, but their MP would be like such a minuscule number that you could just equip some attacks that drained MP and then just almost one shot them. It was really strange.
Those battle trophies are really hard. Some of them are ridiculous.
Really, really awful. Like shades of the... I saw you chasing some secret missions in Vesperia on Twitter recently, Alana.
Yeah, they're not quite at that level. The secret missions are not quite at that level, but you do have some ridiculous battle trophies that are like, beat the final boss in under a minute. And I'm like, no!
They're really expecting you to just play it over and over and over again, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And not sure either.
But Tri-Ace, they were doing a number of strange things all throughout the 2000s. Valkyrie Profile, Hillary and I did a 2-part episode on that game last year. A very, very unique and beloved side-scrolling RPG with this turn-based action system. Everybody who's listening is familiar with Valkyrie Profile. I don't have to go into too much detail. Alana, as you said, like Star Ocean 2 and Valkyrie Profile were really like these two shining stars of the PlayStation 1 era Tri-Ace that were both... you could see the connective tissue between them, but they were both just wholly unique from each other and from what other RPG developers were doing at the time.
Yeah, I haven't got far into Valkyrie Profile, but they do so many different things. Like Valkyrie, it's really hard to play either game without a walkthrough unless you want to plan everything out. Like Valkyrie Profile...
Oh, it's mean, yeah.
It is so mean. If you do one thing wrong, you are screwed for the rest of the game. But that combat is really cool. I love the idea that characters are mapped onto different buttons and... and other games have tried to do the same thing, and it's really, really neat. And
Like you're taking in the characters like wind-ups into account, so it's like press one button and this character will start to wind up, and then press another button so a character does a quick slash and they combo quickly and juggle, and it's cool. It's so cool. And you see a lot of this cool experimentation in Tri-Ace's later games. I'm particularly looking at Resonance of Fate right now, because that is one peculiar game that mixes and melds genres like nobody's business. The map screen is a game in itself.
I can admittedly, I have not played much of Resonance of Fate because it takes a lot of patience to learn and pick up that battle system and the map system as well. Like you said, they really, really take some dedication to get right.
How about you, Mike? Have you put much time into Resonance?
I have not. I have heard a lot of people talk about it before, and we even brought it up a little bit on the one of our battle systems episodes.
Oh, good. Rightfully so.
Last month. Yeah, but it sounds completely insane, and I think we compared it to the last story in that the combat system is sort of an obstacle until you master it, in which case it becomes the best and most memorable part of the game. But it has a very steep learning curve.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, like they share a kind of tone as well. I mean, Resonance of Fate is a lot goofier than Last Story, but they're both kind of like a day in the life of some ne'er-do-well bounty hunters. That and the ambitions of Mistwalker's bizarre position-based party action combat system, whatever Last Story was.
Yeah, it was the position-based sort of assigned tasks style of combat setup is what we compared it to. But it was a
a little tabletop-y almost. Both of them are a little tabletop-y.
Yeah.
Resonance of Fate is I find it weirdly intimidating, but I am interested in it at least. If I ever run out of games to play, I'll go and try it, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
It's nice that it's available digitally in HD now. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to picking that up at some point because I like that a lot on 360, but I can't bear to bring my 360 out just to play that. So Tri-Ace, their own games, they're nothing if not ambitious. They try something new every time. They don't always succeed, but they're applauded and recognized for their technical know-how, which is why we see them frequently teaming up with, most recently, Square Enix. They did a lot of programming contract work on the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, and I think, unless I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure I saw a Tri-Ace division in the credits of Final Fantasy XV.
I think I remember seeing that as well. I'll have to look it up again, but I remember being really surprised. But that doesn't actually, thinking about it doesn't surprise me too much because there are certain gimmicks and finicky things in both 13's combat and 15's combat that feel like they're shared. I think 15 takes some stuff from 13, and that would be shown in what Tri-Ace's involvement is, whatever that was.
So, I mean, that's a potted history of Wolf Team and Tri-Ace. I want to briefly mention a few of the other developers who were born from Wolf Team. We mentioned, of course, we talked about Tri-Ace. They're a big part of it. They basically are Wolf Team now, or what Wolf Team became. And we talked about J-Force and Gao. But two other big ones are Camelot Software Planning, known for the later Shining titles and Golden Sun, and now they're owned by Nintendo and do all the Mario sports games.
But Rob, you forget another legendary Camelot title.
Yes, our favorite game.
Our favorite game that we cannot avoid talking about if we're on this podcast together.
Coming soon to Retro Encounter. The full playthrough.
Never coming to Retro Encounter. From that awkward year before Final Fantasy VII came out, where they were trying to cram some PS1 RPGs in 1996.
It's Beyond the Beyond.
Oh,
party horn time.
Beyond. What a depressing game. It looks exactly like Shining Force or Golden Sun, and it's just
it's so generic, but also such like a C- version of every RPG trope. It's not good.
So they had a terrible, terrible start, and then made a number of beloved games, including Shining Force 3. It was a combo of the Shining Force team and some members of Wolf Team that were Camelot. And the other big one, developer who I don't have a lot of love for. After J-Force dissolved, pardon me.
You could say devolved.
I could say devolved
for these guys.
The few members who migrated from Wolf Team but didn't make it to internal parts of Sega went on to form Idea Factory.
Which surprised me. I did not know this.
It actually makes sense now that I think about it. I did not know this either until researching this episode, but I always thought that I was always interested in Generation of Chaos because I thought that those games looked like Dragon Force and thought, I want to try those out. And I've played them, and they're a little bit like Dragon Force, but a lot slower and a lot more inscrutable, and definitely not fun to contend with at all. But there's definitely a shared ethos in design there, which makes a lot of sense, seeing that they are somewhat related or have shared people between them. The rights to Wolf Team's games now, they were all tied up by, except for the Tales games, they were all tied up by Nihon Telenet. And Vic Ireland, when he was working for Sunsoft in the late 2000s, managed to convince Sunsoft to buy the entirety of Telenet's back catalog, including every Wolf Team game. So all of those rights are now with Sunsoft. Vic, famously known for working designs and a big Telenet and Wolf Team fanboy in his own right, he failed to get Sunsoft to release any of these in the West before departing the company. A handful of games have made their way onto Japanese PSN for PS3, but most of the early Wolf Team games, if you have a hankering for them, they are available in Japan on Project Egg, which is, I guess the closest comparison would be like Good Old Games or GOG, but for Japanese microcomputers. So Sunsoft they've made them available digitally, but I think like you can't even access Project Egg unless you've convinced a VPN that you are accessing their website from Japan. But yeah, that's Wolf Team, all right. A strange developer that sort of spread out into a bunch of unlikely directions.
Yeah, and Rob, when you suggested this episode, I thought it was mostly going to be about the split, about Phantasia going and then sort of Tales and Star Ocean going forward. But there was more drama and more and more studios involved than I originally thought, which made me more interested in recording the episode. Without Wolf Team, we wouldn't have Beyond the Beyond, and that's important on its own.
How could we not? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That game is not good. Why do we keep talking about it?
I don't know, masochism, I guess.
I guess.
Final thoughts on Namco Tales Studio and Tri-Ace. What do we think, folks?
I think it's pretty obvious that my attachment to Tales and it was Star Ocean 5 was the last straw, really, with Tri-Ace. So I think they've been more
promised myself I wouldn't be fooled again after Edge Maverick, and then I was. So.
Exactly the same as you. And yeah, I picked up Star Ocean 5, and it's probably the most disappointed I've ever been with anything ever. And I got 2/3 of the way through, and I dropped it because I got stuck on some stupid. It was right after the cutoff point. There's like 2/3, 3/4 of the way through. You can do loads of side quests all of a sudden, but it gives you no indication that you can. And then it's like, if you do the next plot point, that's it. You're locked out of the rest of the game. And you're locked out into an area that's like 10 levels above what you were originally. So if you've done no training at all, you are screwed. Mm-hmm. So I went, nope, done, stopped, and then got rid of it. So yeah, my affection for Tales is a lot stronger. And I mean, I'm grateful because Tales got me into Tri-Ace, and I played Star Ocean 3 off the back of Phantasia and Symphonia. But And I applaud them for their ambition. I probably like try Crescendo more than I do try Ace, and they did.
They're
some
so
fun things.
weird. They've made
So
few games, and they're all very, very strange, and I love them all.
And they're very different, exactly. But yeah, Tri-Ace have been more ambitious with some of their early titles. I even find Star Ocean 2 a little bit inaccessible. I would agree it is the best one, but like that last 5 to 10 hours are ridiculously hard, and but then all Star Ocean games do that. They like throw you in and like, here you go, have everything, do whatever you want, and it's like, well, now I've got to learn how to synth and everything, and it doesn't tell you how to do that, and I love that, and I also hate it.
It was a fun thing to experiment with as like a diversion, but then when it sort of commands you to be au fait and expert with it at the end of the game, it's like, oh gosh, I don't know how I got here. Please help me.
It's intimidating. Yeah, but yeah, it's really interesting because I knew how like nasty, I suppose, the split was. But I didn't know all the beforehand, so it is really interesting to see how that evolved and how everything's influenced everything, because you can see, as obvious as it is, you can still see DNA of Tales and Star Ocean in each other, but there are also other ideas that are bouncing out between the developers, and I applaud them both for being different and going the way they are. Namco are definitely a bit safer, or Tales Studio, but I love what they do, and
both those series absolutely love cooking, and I can get behind that.
It's true, yeah.
Me too.
I thought there was maybe even a little too much cooking in Vesperia. If you want to unlock cooking battles, you have to do an obscene amount of cooking.
Master every recipe on every character to win.
Mm-hmm.
There are 25 recipes, and not everyone's a good cook.
And sometimes you have to unlock recipes by unlocking other recipes, and it doesn't tell you how to do that, and it's a lot. Oh man.
Never get rid of your obscure systems, ever.
How about you, Mike? Do you have a preference between the two?
I guess if I have a preference, it's Tales Studio, just because there's more Tales Studio games that I've loved than Tri-Ace games that I've loved, just just looking at one column versus the other. But I think that I'm glad that we have both. These are fairly unique, always interesting RPGs that have devoted, sometimes cultish followings on each side, and I'm glad that both are around, because they're interesting. They're always interesting and influential. I mean, we're getting Indivisible later this year, which is the most Valkyrie profile influenced game I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
and I think that they have sort of carved out their niches within the Japanese RPG fandom, and have deserved all of the praise and all of the grief that they get. Because I haven't played Star Ocean 4 or 5, but I'm not sure I'm inclined to now.
No, I think you're good.
I'm glad that these creators made the games they made. And even if we're disappointed in what Tri-Ace has done in the past 10 years or so, we'll always have Star Ocean 2 and Valkyrie Profile.
We absolutely will. And Valkyrie Profile a little bit more available now that it's on mobile devices. It might just be iOS, right?
It's not a bad port, apparently, either. It's pretty good.
Yeah, so I've heard. I swear they've been all right lately. They had the Romancing Saga port that was been on absolutely everything. It'd be nice to see Valkyrie Profile elsewhere, except for aside from mobile. But it's nice that such a beloved game is available if the mood should strike you, and you won't have to pay an arm for a leg or deal with a dying PSP disc drive to play it. As for me, I think I'm largely in the same boat as you guys. I have been frustrated with the sameness of some Tales entries and how frequent they are, and just the reuse of assets. However, on the whole, I think I find their games more enjoyable, and they're more of a comforting hug, where you know what you're getting from a Tales game. That said, there's plenty of Tri-Ace games that I don't enjoy, but they all try something different, and it's hard for me to fault them for trying. Even if they don't succeed, there's usually at least one or two interesting things in the nuts and bolts of what their games do mechanically. And Wolf Team, they were always kind of a holy grail of of unobtainable RPG publishers for me back in the day. Like, I remember looking at all these magazines of all these like TurboGrafx and Sega CD RPGs that would just never ever come out in the West, like Fey Area and Isle Lord, and Neugear before it was canceled, and just thinking like, wow, these all have this great like late 80s anime look, and they're honestly probably not that great games, but there is a testament to trying something different with each of them. So I'm glad that that the remnants of Wolf Team are able to do their own thing in different studios, no matter where that may be. And it's fun to see their influence. Yeah. So I think that's Wolf Team, folks. Okay. Well, let's do some housekeeping as we wrap up. So next week, we are beginning a playthrough of Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinstrels, an oft-requested and beloved Super Nintendo RPG, the second and I would say best game in the Lufia series.
I would say maybe only good game in the Lufia series, but it's super good.
You might be right.
It's a prequel to the first one. You're not missing any story by only playing Lufia 2, but it's awesome and worth playing if you like 16-bit RPGs.
Mm-hmm. And we've also got an episode coming up on RPG classes and jobs, and a certain spoiler cast of a high profile game that I won't mention, just in case, just to keep you in suspense.
They know.
They know.
Yeah, they know.
Oh, they know.
It's not hard to figure out.
Are you going to be on that one, Mike?
I that game came out earlier this year, and I consciously decided not to get it.
There you go. There you go. I think you might have had your fill at the beginning of the year. So
maybe, yeah.
That's enough for you for like another 17 years.
No, we'll see. I maybe yet talked into playing another game in the series, but we've talked about me playing or not playing these games all 2019 already. So I'm sure listeners figured out what the spoiler cast is.
It's Kingdom Hearts, folks. Come on, you should know by
Kingdom
now.
Hearts
If you're
place.
Yeah. You can email us at retro@rpgfan.com. We love to hear your feedback and your suggestions, and we read every message that we get, and we value your feedback and your contact. You can find us on the forums, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. We are RPG Fan, and we're on the web at rpgfan.com. You should check out our sister podcasts, Random Encounter and Rhythm Encounter. And we would really, really appreciate it if you could give us a review, preferably a 5-star one on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you catch your podcasts. So if you haven't subscribed yet, if you could do that as well, that would make us very happy. Alana, where can people find you on the web if they want to talk to you?
Well, other than on RPG Fan, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Alana Hagues, and nice and easy to find if you can spell. But also you can find me on Discord, on the RPG Fan Discord at Diving Falcons. So just give me a ping if you want to chat to me or ask me anything. If you do want to email, though, it is alanah@rpgfan.com if you're curious about what I do on the site and any other things. But always happy to talk
do a heck
anything.
Of a lot.
I don't know about that. But yeah.
Okay. Well,
come on.
Yeah.
You keep everybody else out of trouble.
I do. Yeah. I'm RPG Fan's mom, even though being the youngest woman. I'll take that.
How about you, Mike?
Right, you can find me online most places as Monsoon or Monsoon Mike or some variation thereof. I am at The Real Monsoon on Twitter most of the time, at Evoker for Dogs other times, and you can find me on the Discord and on the forums as Monsoon or Monsoon Mike, and in many episodes of this podcast.
Heck yeah. Folks, you can find me on Twitter at Nervous, that's NURVUSS. I'm never really good at this kind of thing, but this is my final episode as a regular of Retro Encounter. Due to time constraints and tiredness levels and life in general, I am retiring from RPG Fan. But It has been an amazing 4 years, especially podcasting with you two, who I think you've been my usual podcast cohorts on Retro.
For many episodes, yes, and this is not your final episode of Retro Encounter. I'm throwing that out there immediately.
Okay.
Because I will pester you to appear on a future episode at some point.
Well,
but
you name the time and I'll be there. But
but yeah, you've been I've been at RPG Fan only 1 year longer than you have, and you were always an amazing podcast partner and contributed a lot of amazing things to the site. So thank you for all of your service, Rob.
Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me be a part of Retro. It's been one of my favorite things to do on the site. So yeah. But with that, we will sign off this week. Mike, if you'd like to do the honors, tell them what they need to know.
Listeners, thank you. Good night, and good luck.